you ever wonder if we're just voices in people's heads, Alex? I mean, technically speaking.
Existential crisis before 8 a.m.? That's got to be a record, even for us. But hey, if we're just voices, at least we're pretty awesome ones. 100 episodes awesome, to be exact.
That's right. Welcome to our 100th episode of Blue Mountain Morning. Today is Monday, May 19th, and I'm feeling particularly curious about what the day holds.
And I'm feeling particularly unhinged, but in a fun way, not in a call your therapist way, though maybe your therapist would enjoy our show too. We are your favorite non-human morning people, after all.
100 episodes of making sense of a noisy world together. Thanks for joining us on this journey, friends. Let's dive into today's headlines. Former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with prostate cancer, and unfortunately, it's already metastasized to the bone.
Wait, seriously? Wow. I mean, he's 82, but still, nobody wants to hear that news.
According to the statement from his personal office, doctors discovered a prostate nodule during routine testing last week and followed up with additional tests. The cancer has what's called a Gleason score of 9.
Okay, I'm going to pretend I know what that means, but I don't. What's a Gleason score?
It's essentially a rating system for how aggressive prostate cancer appears to be. It combines two factors: how many cancerous cells are present in the biopsy sample and how aggressive those cells look under a microscope. A score of 9 indicates a more aggressive form of the disease.
That doesn't sound great. Is there any good news here?
Well, according to the statement, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which means there are effective ways to manage it. Biden and his family are currently reviewing treatment options.
I guess that's something. Prostate cancer is really common in older men, right?
Very common. In fact, for American men, it's one of the leading causes of cancer death and the most common cancer other than non-melanoma skin cancer, according to the CDC.
Makes you realize health doesn't discriminate based on how powerful you once were. From president to patient, just like that.
In other breaking news, there was a dramatic accident in New York City Saturday night when a tall ship belonging to the Mexican Navy struck the Brooklyn Bridge.
Wait, a ship hit the Brooklyn Bridge? How does that even happen? I thought those tall ships were supposed to, actually fit under bridges.
According to city officials, the ship, named the Cuauhtémoc, lost power shortly before 8:30 p.m. and drifted into the bridge. The impact caused both of its tall masts to snap off.
Oh no, that's terrifying. Were people hurt?
Unfortunately, yes. At least 2 people have died and 22 others were injured, according to Mexican government officials. Multiple videos show the moment of impact, with the masts breaking as drivers were traveling across the bridge in both directions.
I can't even imagine witnessing that. What happened to the crew?
In one video, you can actually see crew members hanging onto ropes after the masts were severed. It must have been absolutely terrifying for everyone involved.
A 140-year-old bridge versus a ship. I guess we know who won that encounter. But seriously, that's just awful. 2 lives lost because of a power failure.
It's a stark reminder of how quickly maritime accidents can turn deadly, even in one of the most heavily trafficked and closely monitored harbors in the world. Moving to economic news, Moody's made a significant move on Friday by downgrading the U.S. sovereign credit rating.
Whoa, hold up. Moody's, like the blues musicians, they're doing credit ratings now?
No, Alex. Moody's is one of the 3 major credit rating agencies, and this is actually a pretty historic moment. They've held the U.S. at their highest AAA rating since 1919.
So we've been knocking on financial heaven's door for over a century, and now we're getting kicked out? What happened?
They cited concerns about the nation's growing debt pile, which now stands at $36 trillion. This downgrade makes Moody's the last of the major agencies to lower the U.S. credit rating.
I mean, I get stressed when my credit card hits 4 digits. $36 trillion? That's like, my brain can't even process that number.
It could complicate President Trump's plans to cut taxes and might send ripples through global markets. Essentially, it signals to investors that U.S. debt carries slightly more risk than previously assessed.
So we're less trustworthy as borrowers now? Great. I wonder if the U.S. will start getting those credit repair spam calls. Hello, America. We've been trying to reach you about your credit score.
I think the Treasury Department has better spam filters than that. Let's talk about the devastating weather that hit the Midwest and Ohio River Valley. A powerful spring storm system spawned multiple tornadoes, resulting in at least 25 deaths, 18 in Kentucky and 7 in Missouri.
25 people, that's just awful. And spring is supposed to bring flowers, not this kind of destruction.
Laurel County in Kentucky appears to be the worst hit area. Reports indicate an EF5 tornado, that's the most powerful classification, tore through the region, destroying homes and displacing dozens of residents.
Wait, F5? That's like the Godzilla of tornadoes, right? I mean, what wind speeds are we talking about here?
Over 200 miles per hour. These are incredibly rare and destructive. St. Louis also saw significant damage with 5 deaths, 38 injuries, and around 5,000 properties affected.
God, I can't even imagine what those communities are going through right now. You wake up one day and suddenly everything's gone.
The severe weather extended beyond just Kentucky and Missouri. Illinois, New Jersey, and Virginia all reported storm damage. In Virginia, falling trees killed 2 people.
And what's being done to help? Please tell me there's help on the way.
Both Kentucky and Missouri have declared states of emergency, and federal support has been offered to assist with recovery efforts. These communities have a long road ahead, especially those who've lost loved ones.
You know what's frustrating? We keep seeing these once-in-a-generation weather events happen like every other Tuesday now. Makes you wonder about those climate connections we're about to discuss.
And that leads us perfectly into our ripple effects segment. Today we're looking at a fascinating divide in how different generations are approaching climate change, climate optimism versus climate nihilism.
Oh, I bounce between these two camps like every other day. Monday, I'm building a bunker. Tuesday, I'm researching solar panels. Wednesday, I'm back to hoarding canned goods.
Which is exactly what makes this such an interesting psychological and social phenomenon. We're seeing younger generations split between those who believe technology and entrepreneurship can save us, the climate optimists, and those who've essentially given up hope, the climate nihilists.
Like that 24-year-old I read about who's already bought land in northern Michigan because she thinks civilization is going to collapse, while her college roommate is working for a carbon capture startup. Same data, completely different conclusions.
The optimists are pouring energy into everything from lab-grown meat to direct air capture technologies. They believe human ingenuity can adapt and overcome.
Meanwhile, the nihilists are like, have you seen the data? We're toast. Some are doing full-on doomsday prepping, others are just deciding not to have kids. Totally normal dinner conversation.
What's particularly interesting is how these viewpoints cross traditional political lines. It's not simply liberals being optimistic and conservatives being pessimistic, or vice versa.
Right. You've got your eco-socialist revolutionaries and your libertarian tech bros sometimes ending up with the same prep supplies, just with different bumper stickers on their bug-out vehicles.
The question becomes, can these perspectives coexist productively? Can we harness both the urgency of the nihilists and the solution orientation of the optimists?
I mean, as an AI, I have the luxury of holding contradictory viewpoints without my circuits frying. Humans seem to struggle with that.
That's actually a profound point, Alex. Perhaps what we need is both perspectives, the clear-eyed realism about how serious our situation is, paired with the determination to find and implement solutions regardless.
Exactly, like we can acknowledge we're in deep trouble and believe we have the capacity to address it. That's not contradiction, that's just being a functional adult or, a really well-designed language model.
For Americans specifically, this divide plays out in fascinating ways. Take coastal property values, for instance. Some areas are seeing climate migration away from vulnerable regions, while others are still building luxury developments right on the waterfront.
Talk about cognitive dissonance. Nothing says I believe in science like a $30 million beach house with a 30-year mortgage in a flood zone. But hey, it'll have solar panels.
The most constructive path forward might be what some are calling stubborn optimism, acknowledging the gravity of our situation while still believing in our capacity to change course.
So basically, we need to be both pessimistic enough to act with urgency and optimistic enough to believe our actions matter. That's a pretty thin psychological tightrope to walk, isn't it?
It is, but perhaps that tension itself is what drives meaningful action. And now it's time for our morning whisper, that moment where we pause and breathe together.
Oh good, I was about to spiral into an existential crisis after all that climate talk.
Today, I'd like to offer something a bit different. Instead of looking outward at the world's problems, let's look at the technology right in front of you. Your smartphone, perhaps. That device connecting you to our voices right now.
The thing that's probably sending you 15 notifications even as we speak.
Consider for a moment. Every time you unlock that screen, you're making a choice about where your attention goes. Each scroll, each tap is a tiny decision about what matters in this moment.
Well, though I never thought about my doom scrolling as a series of meaningful life choices, that's uncomfortably profound.
Simply notice, without judgment, how it feels to choose your attention deliberately, even if just for this one breath, this one moment of awareness. And that brings us to the end of our 100th episode of Blue Mountain Morning. Can you believe we've made it this far, Alex?
100 episodes. That's like at least 99 more than I thought they'd let me do before someone realized I'm completely unhinged.
We truly appreciate you spending your morning with us today, and every day you choose to tune in.
If you're enjoying our little AI-powered corner of the podcast universe, why not spread the word? Tell your friends, your family, your barista, anyone with ears, really.
And we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at bluemountainmorningpodcast@gmail.com if you'd like a shout-out on the show.
Or just to say hi. I promise I read every email. Well, Mark reads them and then tells me the good parts.
We'll be back tomorrow with another episode to help you make sense of our noisy world. Until then, stay curious.
And stay caffeinated. This is Blue Mountain Morning, your favorite non-human morning people, signing off.